Hey fellow woodcutters, TopSaw here. Today I'm going to go over how to build a box frame. This is alder. I'm going to build this whole box frame without a tape measure. Some really big ideas in woodworking. The idea that opposing pieces are identical. And the way you get them identical is you make them exact through your correct order of operations. But when you introduce a tape measure, you introduce measurement, and then no matter how accurate you are, there is still a tolerance, and that's a big idea. So I'm going to set this thing up so that all my opposing pieces are identical, and they're going to fit the board that I'm trying to put in as a floating panel. I'll go a quick overview on how to get started to this panel here, but really this video is all about building this box frame. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Step one is you're going to use a universal laser 3.60 to do a cut through of the water body you want and then engrave titling it. This is 1/8 inch plywood. Over to the orbital sander, just a little bit of cleanup to make this smooth. Then I'm going to glue up right here. And I'm going to get enough glue on here. I'm not going to go crazy. Then I need to spread it. So I got a good layer all the way up to the edge, but not excessive glue. After it's all glued up, the next thing you want to do is put them together. I actually like the mixed grain. So this is like a cherry grain on the plywood and this is a mahogany grain. So this looks like kind of waves on the lake. I have it weighted down to bond together. Okay, so this is after I glued it together and let it dry. Now we're going to build the box frame for this. This box frame is going to be made exclusively without a tape measure to fit this perfectly. We're going to cut rabbets, we're going to cut dados. We're going to put that frame together to fit this, and this thing's going to kind of float inside of the dados going around the outside, so if there's any expansion or contraction. I have a piece of alder here. It's probably 4 inches wide or so. There's a little bit of checking at the end, so I'm going to take that off. And the way I'm going to find my rough length is I'm going to take it one length, one width, and then I'm going to give it an extra few inches down here, maybe like 4 inches extra. Better to waste a couple inches than waste a whole board. And then when I got it all set up, I'm going to rip it down the middle. And ripping it down the middle, then these are going to be my two opposing pieces, my two opposing lengths and my two opposing widths. So I'm surfaced 3 sides on this material. This one's perpendicular to my edge side. I am going to make this one perpendicular as well to my edge side. Make sure you don't use any of these tools until you've been trained in them. Surface 5 sides. Now with my straight edge here against the fence, I'm going to rip parallel to get my surface 6 sides. Surface 6 sides, and I'm going to cut the dado on this side and on this side as well, and that's where the board's going to sit in. This blade is an 1/8 inch wide, and this right here is an 1/8 inch glued to another 1/8 inch, so I'm 1/4 inch wide. I'm going to drop my blade down. The height of my blade is going to be the depth of my dado. I'm going to make it about 1/4 inch or about a tooth. So I drop this blade all the way down to about 1/4 inch. So I'm about 1/4 inch in. Make sure you're using a push stick and holding down. So I have that there. I'm going to do the same thing again on this side. Remember, this is my length, and this is my length number 2, my width, and my width number 2. So I'm going to do that again. It'll be exactly symmetrical because I have not moved my fence. So there are my 1/4 inch deep dados, and they're 1/8 inch wide. I'm going to move my fence over another 1/8 of an inch and take out a little bit more on this side to accommodate that 1/4 inch. I'm going to reverse it. Okay, so we have our dados cut. Now we're going to cut our rabbets. We do have a 1/2 inch dado stack on the table saw here. We're going to have to use it a couple of times rather than reset the blade. So the first thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to measure this out with the thickness of a board. Maybe make it a little bit long, so I'm going to put that mark on there. I will use a square to bring it all the way over. And I'm going to make it a little bit more than the thickness of my board. So this is the wood I'm taking out right now with that rabbet. Okay, again, not using the tape. I'm going to bring this in, and I'm doing my measurement off of this. This is going to stick out just a teeny bit on this end because it's going to go into the dado on this board here. So it's got to be a little bit less than that, so it's under 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to mark, can you see right here, just under 1/4 here. I'm going to wrap it around the corner a little bit. My board that's going in there on the rabbet, I'm going to mark that one. So I have it cut right there. That board that's going inside ended up right here, right? And this is what I'm removing, here to here, put an X on there. So that's what I'm removing. Now my board looks like that. I have my rabbet, my dado, my rabbet, and then my dado. So this is the 2 lengths and this is the 2 widths. Now I'm going to go over to the table saw and rip it down the middle. But I don't go quite down the middle. I go less in the middle and then reverse it to get this side. So I'm going to throw away a little scrap in the middle, but I'm going to guarantee that this and this, this and this are all the exact same width because it's all the same fence setting. My overall width is about 3.5, so I'm going to go like 1 5/8, and I'm going to rip it from this side down, and then this side down, and then the middle piece gets thrown. A little bit of a burn. So now I have my 2 identical pieces right there, and I'm going to put these together like this on the chop saw. And this is really important here. When they're on the chop saw, this has to be perfectly flush to get identical pieces. So this is the bottom of my box frame. This is going to go in here. Sticks a little bit past there, a little bit past there. Here's my side, right there, to fit in there nicely. And then here's my other side. And then I mark it. So I mark it right there on the inside of the rabbet. And again, when I cut these, I got to cut these 2 exactly the same. So when I put them on the chop saw, I got to have these butts exactly the same. Those dry fit pretty well. Put a little glue in here. There it is, a little more sanding, a little bit of finish. Beautiful box frame, worked out perfectly. Floating panel in the middle, no tape measure, and I have identical opposing pieces, and that's what I was after.